welcome to my workshop. That looks like a nice display / tool selection rack, but it's not in a very convenient position. So I've formulated an idea to mitigate the distance of travel from tool selection to position of operation. Nice. Now it's in a convenient position, but how did it get from here to here? Before embarking on this build, I made a scaled down model that represents the solution to my problem and the functionality I would like to incorporate into the existing tool rack. The objective, the ease of accessing a tool that circumvents the necessity for me to step away from my position of operation. So now with the planning of the project completed, it's time to make this dream my reality. So let's get started. As this tool rack has moving parts, on the components that are to endure this motion I have attached a hard-wearing surface to reduce friction, and I can assure you that it's a food-safe product. Off camera, before shaping the ends of these arms, I reinforced the end grain by drilling a series of 4mm holes, then glued and drove 4mm dowels all the way through before I trimmed and shaped the ends. It's now become obvious to me that there's an issue here that requires attention. The flickering you may detect in this video is due to my inexperience with videography. Why is that, you may ask? I had to break glass to release the emergency camera because my principal camera suffered an unplanned fall and subsequent repair. Thank you, Ben. Consequently, this video was filmed with alternative equipment. So as a result, in my haste to film and complete this project, I failed to give appropriate attention to camera settings and lighting. For this slight, please accept my sincere apology as I ask you to endure the less than optimal quality of video footage. Originally, this video was never meant to be, so after taking a position that allows for deep contemplative thought to flow, I set the camera rolling after I had reassessed the validity of filming. This is my attempt to capture part of the process I go through when designing and engineering an object with moving parts for the workshop. I always use these types of builds as a way to explore new ideas and perhaps even discover some new ones that then inspire some new innovations in the subsequent furniture I build. Workshop editions are an opportunity to experiment and not to be too concerned about the finished product. It's also a good opportunity to use up timber offcuts and add to the flow of the workshop in pursuit of maximising the yield within the creative environment. When I get the urge to make something for my workshop, my usual reaction is to complete and finish the task as expeditiously as possible. However, when it came to the apparatus featured in this video, I took part in a mental wrestling match from which the winner would decide if this project was worth filming or not, as a portion of my mind thought it was unworthy. It wasn't until I'd almost completed making the partition tool rack featured in this video that this wrestling match took place and the winner strongly suggested that this project may be more interesting than I originally thought. After all, what do I know about what people may or may not be interested in? When I embark on any repetitive task, I take a moment to pause. Then, after reflection, it's time to repeat, 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 repeat. Then, hang on a second. Then, and only then, the shaping begins. I've secured a piece of 12mm MDF here to restrain the timber's fibres as the router blades trim off the surplus timber to leave only what is required to achieve the overall shape for this component, as anything less than the very specific roundover I have in mind is unacceptable. Now it's time for a little fine-tuning of some of the carefully selected components I made earlier. With the repetitious production of these components complete, it's time to apply a liberal amount of elbow grease and smooth all surfaces, but not before I make a quick saddle to seat and secure each component. That'll make this operation easier. After all the attention given to making and refining the templates for this project, it's now finally time to advance to a parade of carefully selected router bits to remove the remaining sections of what I consider to be superfluous timber, as its existence is not required within the parameters of this design. due to the uneven surfaces of these soon-to-be swinging boom arms. With power tools alone, I can't seem to achieve the smooth finish that I require for said components. To overcome the malaise, I find it beneficial ascending through a series of sandpaper grits, whilst meditating to achieve clarity for the next phase of the project. Welcome to the metal components section of the build. Let's see that in real time. Beautiful. Well, so far my project seems to be going according to plan, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to say nice. Now it sounds like it's working correctly. I've decided to install a ball catch to ensure that the tools and the rack they furnish stay where I leave them after moving the rack into optimal working position. Not quite there yet. Perfect. After agreeing with myself regarding my choice of optimal angle the tool rack should take to ensure the tools don't leap from the position I left them in, it was time to cut 3 wedges to complement this optimal angle. Then attach, seat and load the display rack with tools and instruments capable of rapid timber removal. Once again I found myself improvising to achieve satiating results. This is one of 2 handles I designed for this project. It's a design I have started to incorporate into and adapt for other projects. If you're interested in how I made and designed this handle, I've released a YouTube short featuring an extremely comprehensive tutorial. Yeah, that feels nice and pleasing to the touch. Off camera, I dressed all components with 2 coats of satin hard wax oil. Now, as I enter the final phase of this project, I realise the construction has been fairly comprehensive thus far. Therefore, I've decided to keep the reassembly to a minimum to reduce viewer fatigue. After this sequence, it'll be followed by a swift installation so I can benefit from the convenience of this workshop edition. Yes, magnets. Yeah, now that is convenient. Because I have a limited work area, when I plan to incorporate anything new into the workshop, I am mindful of the surroundings. So any additions to the workspace do not interfere with, but enhance the workflow. The lathe you now see me assembling was gifted to me by a friend wanting to see his late father's retirement interest continued. Thanks, Conrad. Subsequently, I was happy to receive the contribution. Now, as I edit this sequence, the scope of this past event has contextualised the present, even though it did not occur to me at the time of the transaction. My awareness of these linked episodes is now realised and continued as I create yet another link in the chain of occurrences from the almost imperceptible significance of the preceding sequence of events. Unfortunately, due to my compromised perception, I failed to capture the full restoration of the lathe, as I contemporaneously deemed it to be insignificant and unnecessary. How wrong I was. So in an attempt to rectify my short-sightedness, I've included a selection of photos that were undervalued at the time, hence the lack of well-framed shots. At the very least, these still shots should convey the condition of the lathe prior to any restorative undertakings. After removing a rat nest and the lightly skinned and somewhat mummified skeletal remains of the nest's occupier, I set myself the task of completely dismantling the lathe, followed by exfoliating the compromised protective surface to reveal bare metal. I then applied a soothing treatment to the freshly exposed subsurface to form a new coat of non-traditional workshop coloured paint. Orange. Hang on, something's missing. This scene was filmed only moments ago where I provided myself with a little guidance. Nice. And now for a few finishing touches to bring this project to its conclusion.